welcome to the Teacher Geek YouTube channel. Here we show teachers how to use technology with a purpose.
Hello, Teacher Geek. Right, so today we're going to look at how to set up and run a Quizizz. Quizizz is one of my favorite assessment tools, and they've just made it even better. So we're going to look at how to search the thousands of quizzes that Quizizz has available for you to use straight out of the box, and how you can set them as a live game or set them as a homework assignment. I'll do a separate video on how to build your own quiz and run that, but right now let's look at how to run with what's already built for you and easy for you to use. I hope you enjoy and find it useful.
Right, so here I am on Quizizz.com, and once you log into Quizizz, the first thing you'll see is a range of quizzes that have been pre-built for you, and that's what we're going to look at now. Before I get there, I just want to highlight a couple of things that are worth noting. First, you can of course create your own quiz, and as I said, I'll do a separate video on that. And once you do, they'll be listed here under your My Quizzes tab on the left side. You also then can access all of your reports from anybody who's ever done the quiz or any group you've ever had do the quiz. And then there's this new feature here called classes. And if I'm just going to click into that to start with, so we can take a look at just what that looks like. And I've created a fake class here. You can link this to Google Classroom. So if you already use Google Classroom, you can tie that into Quizizz and it will pull your classes in from there. Or you can manually create a class. So I've done that. I've created a fake class here, English Period 2, and then I've added myself as a student. When you add students, you literally just click on this and you get a link that you can send out to your group. They use that link, sign up or sign in to a Quizizz account. Boom, they're in your class. So that gives us quite a bit of power, because now I can set quizzes as homework, which is brilliant. So I'm just going to show you both of those options, but we're going to do that from the pre-generated quizzes. And there are lots of pre-generated quizzes here. They're all organized by subject. So we've got maths quizzes, English, social studies, world languages, science, computer science and skills, career and technical, creative arts, and they're organized as well by level. So if I search for a quiz here, I'm just going to choose the periodic table as an example. And here we go. And you can see as I highlight over each quiz, I get all the quiz information here on the right. So I get how many questions there are and a couple of those sample questions, the first couple of questions on the list. So I can tell pretty quickly, are those going to be right for my students and what I'm doing. And that changes as I hover over each one. So we don't want a quiz that's 50 questions. How long do you want this quiz to be? Are you using it as a starter? Are you using it as a plenary? Is it a mid-lesson kind of summary of knowledge or review of knowledge? So think about that and how many questions it is. Once I've done this search, I can also narrow that down by level. So if I want to look at, all right, the periodic table just for kind of middle school level, here I am. If I'm at a higher level and my students need to know a bit more about the periodic table, I get a slightly different list and I can narrow it down. But look at this, I still have 12,386 different quizzes that I could choose from. And I can narrow that down further by looking at specific grades, by narrowing it down to subject, by looking at the most popular. So you can see here, sort by, I can do the most played, the most recent, or the most relevant based on the search terms that I used. So what I'm going to do though is cheese out here a little bit, and I'm going to play a Harry Potter quiz because I don't want to embarrass myself when I do a periodic table quiz, because although I know the periodic table, I'm not convinced I'll do that well. So let's look at this 10 question Harry Potter quiz. If I just click on that, once I come in, I have three choices really. I can do a practice, just practice on my own. So if you're a teacher, it's a great way to preview the quiz. Make sure it's relevant. Make sure that the answers are what you expect they are, that the terminology used is similar. And you can go in and edit a quiz as well, and that creates a duplicate for you. So if any of those questions aren't what you were expecting, you can slightly change them. So if there's a language difference or something like that, we can alter that as well. And it makes a copy of it in your quizzes. So you can, what the term TED Ed uses is to flip a quiz. So you can take it, make it your own, and edit it. Now here, I can set that quiz as homework, or I can do a live game. I'm just going to click into homework, but we're going to run the live game right now. I just want you to see what homework looks like. So basically, I can set a deadline. So it should be completed by the 31st of January, let's say at noon. (12 p.m.) and I'm going to select the class I want it to go to. We're going to set it to English period 2. I can give it a name. This is just a test assignment. Click next. Boom. Okay. And then I just click the assign game button here. Now I can change some of the settings, but I'm going to show you that when we do the live game as well. So there we are, as all of your students will see that game assigned as homework. And I'm just going to show you that on my phone. So here I am logged into my Quizizz account, my student Quizizz account. I've set myself homework here, and you can see the Harry Potter test has been assigned here with a little bell on it telling me it's an assigned game that I need to do for homework. So I'm also going to come back and just show you how that works as a live game. So if it's a game you are doing in the classroom, and if I set it as a live game, here I'm going to use the Quizizz app on my phone, and I'll switch back and forth and compare that for you. So if I set live game, first thing I want to do is, again, I can assign it to a class from there, but I'm not going to do that. We're just going to play it live. But even as a live game in the classroom, I can just send it out to the whole group so they don't have to enter a game code at all. I'm just going to show you how to do the game code part so you can see. So we've got some advanced settings here. I can select the number of attempts students can make at the quiz, which is great if I'm setting it for homework. Then you might decide, actually, I'm okay if they try it twice because they're going to learn from their mistakes. I can turn on the name factory. So if you have students, when you're playing a live game in front of the class and they have to enter a code, the next step is they have to enter their name. If you've got students that are likely to enter inappropriate names, you can turn on the name factory and they just have to choose one from a list. If they do enter inappropriate names, you can always click on their names and you can kick them out as well. And I'll show you that once we launch. We can show the answers in game. I'm going to turn that off for now. But if you want students to try again, that's quite helpful. You get that immediate feedback from them. And then I can show answers after the game. So after the game, you can see how well you've done. There's this new thing called power-ups where students get bonus points and kind of fun abilities to play with. It adds that kind of element of gamifying the quiz as well. So I'm going to leave that on for now. Timer you can leave on or turn off. So with it on, it means how quickly a student answers impacts their score, and it has an effect on how well they do. But if you've got a lot of learners that are additional needs, or perhaps have processing delay or suffer from dyslexia, then you might want to turn that off so that really what you're marking is whether they're right or wrong, and you don't have that level of rush within the game. We can turn the leaderboard on or off. Again, I like to leave it on. It adds a bit of competition, but that might change depending on the nature of your group. Some of your students might not like it. You can shuffle questions and their options. Again, I love to leave these on so that students are all answering different questions at the same time, and the answers are all different. So if someone says, oh, number 3 is A, well, it's not. It's not for everybody. So it doesn't ruin the game if you get someone who does that. Redemption question, again, I like to leave that on, and what that means is at the end of the quiz, you get to try again at a question you got wrong. And that's really nice because, again, you're reinforcing that learning right away. And of course, you can turn the memes on and off. So what happens in Quizizz is that after each question, there's a little funny meme that comes up for students just as a bit of entertainment value. If that you find that becomes really distracting or students are getting too silly, we can turn that off. So we're going to play the classic. We can also do a team game where several people are grouped together randomly, or I can set it as a test. But right now, let's play the classic game, and we're going to go ahead and host. So back to my phone, if I enter that code, 768669, and join in, then it asks me to enter a name. Mark is fine. You can see I've come up here. Now, if I have entered a name that you don't like as the teacher, I can just click on it, kick them out, and they have to enter back in. So that's a nice feature. You can do this in a computer room as well. So if you don't have access to allowing students to use their own devices or a set of tablets for the classroom or something like that, they can just go to joinmyquiz.com and play there just the same as on the app. So it's really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and start the quiz. We'll switch back to my phone. And let's see how I do. And then my redemption question comes in. You can see the little, I love that it's a phoenix that comes in. And I still got it wrong. And that's the only question I got wrong. But that is how it works. You can see back to the main screen here, we get this little celebration. And my favorite bit about this is that you get the results right up on the board and some really interesting data around how the class did. So we can see the overall class accuracy was 90%. I got one wrong. The toughest question was question 9, the longest question, and then interesting facts. Okay, so we can see from this list how I did on each question. We can go into question by question and review them. And I can review my facts as well. So if I look at, for example, the toughest question, that takes me straight into that toughest question and says, actually, the correct answer was Snape, not McGonagall. And I can download those results as a CSV file and keep them, put them into a markbook or anything like that as well. So what I can do once I've run the quiz is I can get those results. I can play the quiz again. This is really handy if you do the quiz at the beginning of the session to assess prior knowledge. And then you want to run it again at the end of the session to look at how much growth has there been as a result of the class. And then, of course, I can click on these review questions and come back through and look at each question one by one. I can even hide the answer. So now we're going to talk about how the class did and which we think are the correct answers. So it gives you that time to review all of that learning and wrap it up nicely as well. So that's Quizizz. I hope you found this useful. You can see why it's one of my favorite tools. It's all free. I think the reports that you get out of it and the kind of highlights of this data are the best of all the websites that are out there for assessment. We are still limited to multiple choice questions, so if you want to ask higher order questions and open-ended questions, then really you need to take a look at my video on Socrative, which will be coming up in a couple of weeks, so that you can really kind of broaden that and use a range of these tools based on your need, what it is you really want to assess. Thanks very much for listening to Teacher Geek. See you soon.